This is about the graphing assignment. I want you guys to go into your Google Drive folder, and here it is. So you should be in the folder that says AP Biology 2015 to 2016 in your Pacifica Christian Drive account, and you should open up the graphing assignment folder. You'll notice that there are two assignments in here, or two files in here. The first one is NBA attendance and ticket prices. That's your actual graphing assignment. The second one says Period 2 quiz scores. This is not assigned to you. This is actually a sample file with some sample questions that I'll be working through in a separate video, which I should also have attached to the same email that this video is attached to. So we'll take a look at that file in the next video. But for our assignment, NBA attendance and ticket prices, let's go ahead and open that up. And then in the preview, you're going to see that it's pretty ugly looking with like lots of weird breaks and stuff. And that's because it's in page view. So essentially, if you were to print this out, this is what your printouts would look like, because this is where the page borders would separate them out to. So it's better to instead open it up with, not open it up, to download it. So you're looking for the icon that has a downward pointing arrow with the little bar underneath. And if you try to open it in Google Sheets instead, that's fine. It's just that you're going to have trouble with some of the graphing portions of the assignment because Google Sheets has limited capability when it comes to graphing. Excel is much better at that. So when you download this file, if you're using Chrome as your browser, you're going to see that the file downloads to the lower right corner, if you guys can see that. And I'm just going to go ahead and open that up from here. And so now it's opening up the downloaded file, which means that this is now a file that you and you alone will be able to edit, and no one else will be able to see your changes on it. There are two sections to this. On the left is the actual data that you're going to be working with. So you're looking at NBA attendance and ticket prices for the 1989 to the 1990 season, because this is the season where I was able to find some summative statistics or summative data for. So what this means is that in 1989-1990, the stadium in Atlanta had an average attendance of 13,993 people that year, per NBA game, and the average ticket price per game was $20.06. And you'll notice that all of your data is organized alphabetically by the team name. But if you want to, you can actually organize it by price instead. You basically just click on the price, that first value under price, and then you drag it to highlight all of the values, and then you can hit the sort button up here, the one that says A to Z in the top toolbar, and you can arrange that in ascending order or descending order, and we'll rearrange all of those things for you. So now we can see that Atlanta is over here, cell 22, and once again, average attendance of 13,000 something people, average ticket price of $20.06. If you do any sorting, just double check and make sure that it sorted all of the data and kept them collated with each other, because you don't want ticket price to be sorted but Atlanta to still be up here. Then that means that your data is no longer any good. I'm going to go ahead and undo that because I don't really need that sorted right now. Here's the actual task for you. And you can see that I added it in as a text box. So if you wanted to, you could just copy and paste all of the text onto a Word document and work on it that way if that's easier for you. Or you could work on it in here. That way the data is right next to you and you could do the graphing and answer the questions as you go. But it's up to you. Now, I'll show you in my next video a couple tips and tricks for how to work in an Excel sheet and have it all nice and neat. So if you're interested, you can watch that. I want you to notice that there are several different colors on this assignment. The first color you see is red, and these are the task words that are not just words that I'm using for this assignment, but they're actually the AP exam task words. So you might see words like find, analyze, hypothesize, explain, predict, and here's the one that most people don't really know what it means, justify. If you can see, I've highlighted that down here. So each of these words are what the College Board has determined that you need to be able to do on the AP exam in order to prove what you know. So the word find means that you need to, look and at the data or look at the picture or whatever they provide to you and find this variable or that observation or whatever and identify it. And that's pretty much it. Analyze pretty much almost always means that you graphically analyze it, which means that you look at the numbers, you produce a graph, or if a graph is already produced for you, you now interpret that graph. And then you write down reasonable interpretations of the data based on what you're given. Hypothesize, you should all know what that means, but there are certain rules for writing hypotheses, which we'll talk about our first week of school. And then predict means that before you actually look at the data, you make a prediction. It's not based on any data that you've seen so far, it's only based on your previous knowledge, your past experiences. The word explain means that you're not just describing. A lot of people get explain and describe confused with each other. Explain means that you're providing supportive details that provide evidence for the statements that you're making. Compare means that you're looking at similarities only. And if we go down, you should see contrast somewhere else. And contrast here in 6E means that you're looking at differences only, and so on and so on and so forth. So there are several different tasks here. I'll talk about a couple more of them as we go through this document. But let's start with the green section. So anytime you see something written in green, what that means is this is a required video. So you must watch this video, and they're typically about 10 minutes long, maybe 15 minutes at the most. I want you to start with this video from Bozeman Science, which, by the way, is an awesome resource for you. So don't just watch the videos that I assign you. Feel free to watch any of the videos. There are dozens and dozens of them that Mr. Anderson in Bozeman, Montana has posted about AP Biology. And that's a YouTube channel, by the way. Now, after you watch that video, it's going to introduce you to the basics of graphing for science and using statistics for science. Then the next thing I want you to do is write a hypothesis about the relationship between NBA stadium attendance and average ticket price for each NBA team. And do that in the if-then format. So you're going to say, well, if stadium attendance is, blah, 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 then I would expect blah. Next, the sample size task. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions to answer, A through E, and it involves 2 AP task words right here and right here. If you have trouble answering any of these questions, now you can see that there is a blue video. And blue means that it's optional. So it's there for you if you need additional explanation, if you need support, if you want to look at a sample problem. And these are also about 10 minutes long. Now, Khan Academy is also an excellent resource for math and statistics, and it's like an okay resource for biology. They didn't start building out their biology inventory, like video inventory, until last year. So I'm not sure how much there's in there for you that can help you out this year, but it's a great resource for statistics. Next, task 3, means. So you have 2 tasks here, and here is a help video. Once again, it's optional. That's why it's in blue. The next task is medians, and you'll notice that this is the same helper video that I posted for both tasks. So this video will teach you about both mean and median, and also range and outliers. So this is the one where you need to actually start the graphing. And you can see that your task word, your first AP task word in this section is for question E, and it says produce a box and whisker plot for NBA attendance. Now at this point, if you are like, what's a box and whisker plot? Hopefully you learned about that in Algebra 2, but if you didn't, or if you forgot all about it, or if you need a refresher, once again, go here. Now, Producing box and whisker plots, it would be great if you could easily do it in Excel. You can't. I don't know why. It's really weird. So I'll show you in my next video how you can kind of like mess around with formatting to produce something that essentially looks like a box and whisker plot and provides all the necessary information that a box and whisker plot should produce. But it's a relatively complicated process. I'm just warning you in advance. So that means that if you would prefer to draw your box and whisker plot by hand and have it on a paper and then take a picture of it with your phone and upload that image into your file so that you have it in your Google Doc or whatever it is you're using to put into your Google Drive folder, that's a great option. The other thing is you actually can click on, if you have the Google Drive app on your Android phone or whatever smartphone you have, if you open that Google Drive app, you're going to see that there's a scan button that will allow you to directly scan in any picture that you take into your Google Drive. So I recommend that you do that. Just, get the Google Drive app on your smartphone, open it up, and then hit scan. And then it will automatically stick that in there for you if you take a picture of your box and whisker plot. But if you want to do it in Excel, I'll show you how to do that in my next video. We have some more task words in here, identify, and then inference. A lot of people are not sure what inferences actually are. An inference is a statement that you make based on observations that you've made about a set of data or a phenomenon. Inferences are not statements of fact. And if you watch my next video, I'll give you some examples of what observations are and what inferences are and how those two are related to each other. And then we get to the funny task word, which is justify. So the task is you have to identify what are more reliable summative measures of the NBA data, the mean values, the average values, or the median values. And you have to justify your answer with your observations from your box and whisker plots. That means when you see the word justify, that you have to refer back to the data, or in this case, you have to refer back to your graph, and you have to specifically say, in this part of the graph, this is what I see, therefore. So you essentially are using observations to justify inferences that you're making about this thing I'm asking about. And then once again, here's the same help video that was in the previous two. Now this is a required viewing, so watch this next Bozeman Science video, which is about graphing and the different types of graphs and what they're used for, because you're going to be asked in the next part to make 3 additional types of graphs besides box and whisker plots. But this time, instead of me telling you what to do, you have to determine based on the task at hand which type of graph is most appropriate. So if you want to take a look at how to do these different types of graphs in Excel, here are tutorials from the Jalire Academy, which is another YouTube channel, which I think is awesome. And they're about somewhere between like 5 and 10 minutes each. I would start with basic Excel skills. It will save you a lot of time and heartache if you don't have prior experience with Excel. And then if you're trying to make a bar graph and you want to do that in Excel, then watch this video. If you're trying to make a histogram, watch this video. Here's a video about box and whisker plots if you want to do the Excel version of number 5. But I do want to caution you that although doing graphs in Excel has many advantages, it's very convenient and learning it doesn't take all that long. If you don't have a firm grasp of how to do a line graph by hand, or if you don't really truly understand when to, how to do a scatter plot by hand or like a bar graph by hand, I would encourage you to do these graphs by hand instead of doing them by Excel, because on the AP exam, you're not going to have any computer programs. You're going to want to do it, you're going to have to do all of your graphing by hand. And if you are not 100% comfortable on how to produce these types of graphs, how to set up your axes, how to plot the data, how to, like the conventions for the different types of graphs, when to include a legend, how to space your intervals, things like that, then you should get that practice now. You should figure it out now. The next thing is distribution. So here you have all of our same task words as before, plus the new one, contrast. And then if you need help, oh, looks like I didn't find a good help video for you. Okay, you know what, if I find a good help video in the next day or so, then I'll send you an email. But here is the next video, and this is required viewing. And this video is all about the relationship between the words correlation and causality. In other words, when do data just show that there's a relationship, and when do the data show that there's a cause and effect? So here's your next task, A, B, C, D, about correlation. And you're going to hear in the video, they talk about the Pearson correlation coefficient, and in my next video, I'll show you what that is. But it's not really necessary for you to know how to find the correlation coefficient for this class. That's a statistical term. What is important is for you to know what the word correlation means, and for you to be able to identify when a correlation is strong or when it's weak. So when is a relationship between two variables strong or weak, and can you justify your answer when you say something like that? The next task is comparison, and then last of all, you need to revisit your hypothesis. So go back to the hypothesis you wrote in number 1 and identify whether the data, whether the data supports your hypothesis or not. Stay away from the word prove and disprove, because you can't prove your hypothesis and you can't disprove your hypothesis with just one data set, but you can see if the data supports it or not. So good luck with this assignment. It's going to take you a while, but I really do encourage you to watch the blue help videos. I also encourage you to work with each other, and if you get stuck, if you get stressed, don't sweat it too much, because the first thing I'm going to be looking for is, did you complete the assignment? The second thing I'm going to be looking for is, did you put in effort? And if you have mistakes, you're going to get the chance to fix them. Okay, so I'll see you in my next video. Or I won't see you, you'll see me. Bye!